um, if you could experiment with and build with, what's a material that you don't currently have access to that you wish you could use for your architecture?
Okay, this question um, gives leeway to something else I'm going to show you. But I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to show you a sneak peek. And it's basically building on my thesis idea. So, thesis project is the last project you do in your academic studies, and basically kind of shoots you in the real world with like this interest or obsession, right? So, my thesis was titled Joints and X-rays, and not the joint again, not the joint you put in your mouth, but joint that's something that holds two things together, right? Like two elements or ideas or entities together. So my thesis became this idea. I'm actually going to do it like a slideshow type of thing. That's okay. And I'll speak over it and I'll tell you everything. Um, so can you see my screen? Yeah. So in simple terms, I have an obsession with X-rays and transparencies, and I somehow created a way for myself to use this idea of an X-ray. So the joints become a tool or like a strategy to create X-ray opportunities. So X-raying, let's say the structure versus the skin versus like the mechanical aspects of the project. I'm arguing that architecture is like an act of healing, where like the architect diagnoses a site and like looks at certain layers through this kind of lens that's not really there, but you kind of have it, right? So I'm again interested in like creating transparencies, and not literal ones, but sometimes more like different ones. And this was my proposal. This is a mind map of like how I fuse nature, culture, and infrastructure to create my architecture. But
Wow.
I would want to explore this idea of the X-ray much further, and it's a huge thing in the discourse of architecture. The referencing Princeton's Beatrice Colomina. She basically, her book speaks about like turning our medical obsessions and the image of the body and how it can influence modern architecture. And so I had an X-ray of my shoulder, and took this idea of the shoulder and the joint into something that I could turn into architecture. So referencing historical buildings, I kind of found this interesting opportunity to X-ray buildings, and so you could see the skeleton of the building seeping through the facade, different types of X-rays, and so eventually created a proposal. So this is my thesis project site. It's a existing industrial building in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, and it's a Ford Foundation building. So they used to assemble the first Fords in this building. And, again, this is my final proposal. So X-raying that, to answer your question, Gabe, this is like an X-ray of the building. It's not how the building actually looks because the skin of it is different, but then finding materials that actually operate as an X-ray without looking at that lens specifically, but then just standing in that space, you look at a wall and you can somehow see through it, and then somehow you don't see through it. Some also see through yourself, like ideas of like transparencies are so strong that you could actually create new types of human experience just by doing certain types of transparencies. So this was like an X-ray of one of my thesis drawings, and looking at certain layers of information again. But this is a site model, so this is my building proposal. Using the existing industrial building, but then building on top of it, and it's basically a biomedical research facility I'm proposing. That's me, the joint in the middle that fuses the architecture of the past with the architecture of the future. Somehow that's me again. Yeah, so this is a drawing that it was a huge success. It was a lenticular print. This is a chunk model. yeah, my shoulder, the joint, the intimate X-ray. So all those things colliding. So this drawing it's basically a 4-dimensional drawing. It's not just a regular drawing because it actually changes as you move around it. And I'll find a video. Just yeah. So basically, it's a lenticular print that moves. So it's the
Wow.
idea that different times architecture lives in different moments, and those different moments, are change. So whether it's in the snowy Pittsburgh or sunset, the effects of the facade change. So again, dealing with the materiality of the building, it shifts throughout the day depending on how much light there is. So I would want to explore that material, the X-ray material, and how it kind of operates throughout different times
Mm.
in
What
the
did you
day.
make this picture out of?
So this is those are 3 renders that I made that are stitched into one image. So it's called a lenticular print. I don't know if you know those toys we had as kids, like the little thing you move around and it
Yeah,
changes. So I took that little toy and thing and then turned it into like an architectural drawing.
Wow.
So it's like bring that fourth dimension, which is like the idea of time into an image, so that it's not something constant, but somehow expresses that concept or idea of the X-ray into the space itself.
That is amazing.